Well, hello there and welcome. You are listening to the Kindness Matters podcast, and I am your host, Mike Rathbun. What is this podcast all about? It's about kindness. It's a pushback against everything negative that we see in the news and on social media today, and it's a way to highlight people, organizations that are simply striving to make their little corner of the world a little better place. If you want to join in on the conversation, feel free. Go ahead and follow us on all of your social media feeds. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're even on LinkedIn under Mike Rathbun. Check us out. And in the meantime, so sit back, relax, enjoy, and we'll get into the Kindness Matters podcast. Hey, welcome everybody to the Kindness Matters podcast. It is a Monday, but that's okay. You're hearing this on Thursday, perfectly fine. Don't be disarmed. I don't know what I'm doing. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am so excited to have you here, and I am so excited to introduce you to my guest. His name is Mike Puffer. He will call himself a country computer guy. Is that right, Mike?
That's right.
But he's also the founder of one of the coolest 501c3 nonprofits that I have ever heard of. The name of that business, that nonprofit is Tabi Oasis, Tabi. We'll talk about that in a moment, but let's meet Mike.
Great. Thanks so much, Mike. I really appreciate this.
Oh, I really appreciate you, Mike. So when you call yourself a country computer guy, what does that entail?
Well, I have a knack for computers, and so I go out to people's homes and businesses and farms and take care of all their computer needs, whether it's the computer itself, printers, Wi-Fi, extending Wi-Fi out to an outbuilding, a barn, or something like that. And I was late in the game to getting a website. So the only thing left that I could find was Country Computer Guy, and it really fits my business. I live in a rural area.
Yeah.
And so it really fits. So I just grabbed onto it while it was available.
Yeah. And that's awesome. So you're like a computer doctor who does house calls.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
You can use that. Feel free if you don't already. Now, so who's your typical client out there? I mean, are we talking like farmers who are trying to get up and running, or who's your typical client out there in the country?
Well, mostly home users. I run my own shop. I don't have any employees, so I limit my business customers to about 10 computers.
Okay.
Because I don't want to get tied up for days on end with that. So I really specialize in in-home or in-office white glove service. I take care of anything and everything I find on site. I guarantee all my work. Some of my customers I've had for 18, 20 years. They might pay me in fresh caught fish. They might pay me in venison. They might pay me in sweet corn.
You know what? And I think a lot of us think that that's the way medicine should be these days. So, I mean, it kind of goes along with the house call thing. You know, when you would go, you know, the doc would come out and he'd set your leg and you'd pay him some eggs or what have you. And that was really a simpler time. And this, I like this. That kind of harkens back to that time. So you've been doing that for a while, and then something really bad happened, for lack of a better word. And I should just let you tell it. And it's not a laughing matter, but I mean, you decided to come up with a foundation or a nonprofit that helps people who who suffer from a traumatic acquired brain injury. Can how did you come up with that?
Well, I first want to just explain what Tabi really stands for, traumatic
Thank you.
acquired brain injuries. Any acquired brain injury is something you get after you're born. It's not congenital. And we're not a stickler on that. We want to help the family when someone's injured. And my experiences in the brain injury um, realm, I guess you would say. So that's what the
Yeah.
name is for. And I explain it to a lot of people like this, that in Minnesota here, more than 12 people a day end up in the ICU with a brain injury. I was there many years ago, and my family was the kind of left out. There's a lot of eyes and ears on me, but my family was kind of just waiting for news and kind of struggling. We got
Oh,
through all that. And then 11 years later, on the same day, on the same highway, a loved one was in a really bad car accident and was in the ICU. And so the family just rushed down there. I was out of town on business. I drove home, I grabbed my daughter, and we left. We didn't lock the door. We didn't feed the dog and the cat. We didn't feed the chickens. We just went to the IC to the waiting room,
sure.
just all hands on deck there. And what we found when we got there was three other families going through their own crisis in that ICU waiting room.
Oh,
It's
wow.
chaotic. It's stressful. There are kids running around because some families, they just grabbed the kids. They didn't have time to plan for who's going to watch their kids.
Sure.
So it was kind of stressful. And I had family there. Other people had family there, but there was just no room. People were sleeping on the floor, sleeping on furniture.
Oh, wow.
It was just a chaotic scene. And it took me a while to figure out what I just felt there was something there that needed to be done, but I had no idea how to do it or what to do, how to do it. We were
Right.
raiding machines at night for food because at 3 o'clock in the morning there weren't restaurants open. So that's kind of where it started for me. And as time went on, it was about the third evening. Now this happened in October 23rd, and so it's 8:30 at night. It's dark outside. I live in the country, and so when someone knocks at my door at 8:30 at night in the country, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
So my daughter had gone home with me. We went home to get a change of clothes, take a breath, try to figure out what's going on.
Sure.
And we get a knock on the door as a pastor from a local church. Now,
Oh,
I don't attend that church, but I do work on their computers, so they do know me. He just said, "Hi, Mike. Heard about your loved one." Handed me a check and said, "Let us know if there's anything else we can do."
wow.
I gave that pastor the biggest hug he's ever gotten. I guarantee you. I was absolutely blown away. And as I'm holding the check in my hand, I turn around to tell my daughter about this, and she hands me her cell phone. It was the head volleyball coach of the local high school. And she said, "I want to cook some meals for you guys. What do you guys want? Where can I bring them?" And by the way, the high school volleyball team did fundraisers for you guys. So we have some gift cards for you.
Oh, wow.
And I was just blown away. I was in tears to
Yeah, I can imagine that would be just, I mean, because you're already kind of set back on your heels from the accident in the first place, but then this wave of generosity comes and just smacks you right in the face.
yeah, yeah. So as we at that time you still don't know what the condition of your loved one's going to be. So we're staying at the hospital. And as we talked about earlier, my business, I run the business. I can take time off, but there comes a time when you have to go back to work and your customers need, care. So it was the fifth day, and I remember this like it was yesterday. I was on my knees, I was holding the hand of my loved one, and I was praying and I was apologizing that I had to leave the bedside of a loved one for the sake of money. And I promised myself out loud that this will never happen again, that I have to leave the bedside for the sake of money. And the next thought for me, this shouldn't happen to anyone else either.
Yeah.
That was the fire. That was the, but I work with people. Most of the time, my back is to them.
Yeah.
So,
Well, fair.
I'm a computer guy. I'm in my chair or their chair.
Hmm.
So I really didn't have a focus on how do I do this? I thought of a nonprofit, but I don't have any experience in that realm. But I kept mentioning to a mentor of mine the first 5 days, the first 5 months, and the first 5 years. Those were significant time periods for my situation. Other people, it's going to be their own. But
Sure.
I want to do something in the first 5 days, the first 5 months, and again in the first 5 years. So the first 5 days, within 24 to 48 hours, we want to give them $555
Oh, wow.
in gift cards. So if they want to get a hotel room so the family can gather in peace, if they need childcare, if they need meals, if they need gas money to and from, it's up to them. It's just a gift to them. And I love meeting the families. It's hard to meet them. Emotionally, it's hard, but I want them to know they're not alone.
Yeah. I
So
mean, go ahead.
and so that first 5 days was important to me, but then over the next 5 months, things tend to settle some, maybe not in a good place, but it's more settled. But they still may need money to get back and forth from the hospital to home. Maybe they live an hour away or 2 hours away. They're still going to have money for that. Maybe they still need childcare. Maybe the car needs a repair
Yeah.
or a rent payment. And then over the long term, so in my case, I was able to work 3 days a week and had my dad and a cousin watch over my loved one. So I could get out there and work. But some people don't have that. For whatever reason in their lives, they're not able to do that. So I want to find out how we can replace the income that was probably lost, either by the loved one who was the main breadwinner in the family is now injured, or they have to change their life to support that person.
Sure.
And as I've talked to other people in this um, caregiver world, they're just left out. They are just left out. I've talked to people and read stories on Facebook and communicated with people, mostly women, that for 5, 10, 20, 25 years, they've never been able to take a day off
Wow.
because they don't have any support. The families, there's a rush of support in the beginning,
Yes.
but people have their own lives. But there's just a big gap there where there's no support for them. So I'm changing that. I'm improving that. So over that 5 year period, how do we find a way to increase the income of the household? Whether it's a work at home job or finding employers that are more friendly to someone whose schedule has to change.
Wow. That's incredible. I it blows me away. I mean, I know I've heard this story before, but it blows me away that you were able to come up with this. I don't know of any other nonprofit that does what you do specifically for people who've been affected by a traumatic brain injury. So talk to me about the name of the chair, the name of, I keep trying to call it a charity. I don't know
That's
if that's
fine.
a nonprofit. The actual full name is Tabi Oasis.
So TABI is traumatic acquired brain injury, and that includes strokes, aneurysm, medical injuries, overdoses, anything concussions, accidents, and then I kind of lost my chain of thought here.
Oasis?
The Oasis part is what I want for the caregivers. So when a family member is impacted by a medical emergency, the family kind of loses out sometimes on vacations, fishing trips with a loved one. There's less money to go around. There's more care needed for the loved one.
Sure.
So I want to find ways, and I've been talking to different resorts, like up in Brainerd Lakes area
Uh-huh.
and McGregor, and even up in Rainy Lake and International Falls, to find some resorts that'll gift them a weekend of fishing, guided fishing or whatever they want, or a hike, to go somewhere adventuring, and then to find other ways to put together like a weekend. or a 5-day event that's at a lake that everything's covered with different presentations of from other people that have gone through this and how they've excelled or they've been able to thrive. So
Cool.
that's the Oasis part. It's really for the family.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, because really that downtime, eh, until you've been in that situation, you have no idea just how important that is.
Mhm.
I would, so now I'm looking at your, hmm, it, you and I were like the sock drawer of guests here because we keep losing our words. Um, your logo for Tabi Oasis, and
Mhm.
I hope to, with your permission, I'd like to use that as the cover art for this episode. But you've got a sun in the logo, and then the 555. That goes back to your five 5 days, 5 months, five
Months and
years.
5 years. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Well,
Um,
I can tell you a little bit about the logo and the process I went through to
yeah,
come up
please.
with it. Yeah. So I don't know if you're familiar with Joseph Campbell, who studied myths throughout
Okay.
many years, and so the fives are strategically placed according to his what he calls the hero's journey, and it's like a clock shape, and those fives are specifically in points where that made a difference to me, and they're very important that they're in there. And then
Okay.
a mentor that I had during this process, um, on her own, looked up, on Dr. Google and said, "What does 555 mean?" Laughter, abundance, and love in different
Ah,
cultures. And that just like bopped me on the head, said, "Yeah, you're on the right track here, Mike."
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we have the giraffe there. Giraffe is just an amazing animal. They're odd. They're not like anything else. And that's kind of what happens in a family like that has someone who's been hurt. The family has to change and adapt to that. And then the butterflies, the monarch butterflies.
Yep.
This is my opinion. I don't think anybody could challenge it. I believe the butterfly is one of the toughest, most determined, strongest creatures on the planet.
Yeah.
They're paper thin. You could knock them off their feet with a breath, but they fly 1,200, 1,500 miles every year to find a warmer climate and back again. And the key to that is it's the fourth generation butterfly that comes back.
Oh, really?
It's not the same one that travels all the way south and all the way north again. It's usually the fourth generation butterfly. So they're incredibly resilient. And if they get knocked off their journey, let's say a car goes by near the highway and they get knocked off their feet, what do? They get right back up and be the best butterfly they could ever be. They're very strong, they're very resilient, and I had to have that in my logo.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I mean, you think about birds doing that, but a butterfly is just like you said, it's paper thin wings, and they you would look at it and think, well, that's just so fragile, but
And they
thousands of
fly
miles.
chaotically. When they fly, they're not going in a straight line like a bird might. You'd think they couldn't find their way home because the way they fly. They'll go
Oh,
left and right, up and down. So
that's so cool. That's cool. So what does I'm going to put a link in the show notes so that what kind of when somebody comes to you and says, "Okay, I need help," and I think you may have already gone through this, but bear with me. What is the first thing you get? You follow that 555, the donations.
So
Uh,
what we were trying to work with the large level one trauma centers, and we found out that inadvertently we were putting some kind of burden on them, either time or they'd have to approve the request for financial assistance. They would have to. There was just some things that they thought they had to do. They had to approve the marketing. And
Oh,
in the end, we just realized we didn't realize we were doing that. We thought we were just
yeah.
helping, people that were in their hospital. So our board got together and rapidly put together a nomination process. So anyone that knows someone who has a family member in the ICU can go to our website and nominate a family for financial assistance. The emails come to me. I read the form just to make sure it's legit, or if I need more information. And then I contact the person they tell me I can contact, and we make a plan to either bring it to them. We've been to Regions Hospital, we've been to North Memorial, St. Cloud Hospital, and others.
Yeah,
And so we'd like that, but we realize that's in long term, if we get really busy, that won't be possible.
sure. So you're kind of taking that burden off of the hospital. Yeah,
Yeah,
I never would have guessed that that was on them.
yeah.
And apparently you
So
guys didn't. Go ahead.
we have um, pilot programs going with Hennepin County Medical Center. They really appreciate what we're doing. They have flyers in their various waiting rooms,
Oh,
and they've
nice.
also informed staff about us so they can even fill out the forms themselves if they believe the family needs that help. And also with a couple of M Health Fairview and M Health Wyoming Lakes Hospital. And
Oh,
we've been in those other hospitals just meeting the people in the cafeteria or something like that. So, and
that's
one of
fantastic.
the right now, what we need, we've been absolutely blown away with the fundraising we've been able to do with Lions clubs, Legion clubs, JCs, friends, family, people that know the people that we've helped. So, what we really need now is have the word spread. We need people to know we're here. And
Yeah,
that's our
yeah,
main focus
absolutely.
now is to get the word out, but also to keep fundraising to so we can keep growing.
So if you're listening to this episode, um, make sure and share it with a friend or a family member, or 10 friends would even be better.
That would be wonderful. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Michael, I thank you so much. This has been so enlightening for me, and I'm so inspired. And I thank you so much for the work that you do, and this organization. I know it's going to help a lot of people.
Well, thank you, and I really appreciate what you're doing too, Mike.
Thanks.
We all need more kindness in our lives. You know,
Yep.
lead
It's
lead with kindness.
there you go. Amen. Thank you so much, Michael. We'll chat later.
All right. Thanks again. Bye bye.
Wow, what a great conversation with Michael Puffer, the founder of TabiOasis.org. Have you ever just seen something or watched something and went, geez, it would really be nice if there was a nonprofit that could help people out. And then you just kind of dismiss it. You're like, I'm in no position to start a nonprofit. But I am constantly amazed at people like Michael who can see a problem in the world, see an issue, and go, this is what needs to happen, and I'm going to make it happen. And boom, next thing you know, there's a nonprofit out there helping people who didn't have help before. So I'm blown away by Michael. I hope that you can find it in your heart or within your means to give generously to TabiOasis.org. It would help so many people. And you know what? You can even help by spreading awareness of it. You can share this episode with your friends and family members, and just let everybody know what a fantastic organization this is. And that will do it for this episode of the Kindness Matters podcast. I am your host, Mike Rathbun. Keep thinking great thoughts and keep being that person who roots for others and tells a stranger that they look amazing, and encouraging others to believe in themselves and their dreams. You've been listening to the Kindness Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rathbun. Have a fantastic week.